Football's a sprint, and at the same time, it's a marathon. And we are finally at the final week. We know who the 2 number 1 seeds are. I'm not sure that the second best team in one of the conferences is even going to make the playoffs at this point. And we got to talk about it with my man, Will Brinson, senior NFL writer, CBSSports.com, Pick Six podcast, moderator with a Red Football Club hat on today. Is there a story? You always have interesting hats. Is there a story behind the hat before we start?
Yeah, I actually made these hats for Football Club, which is our group of sophisticated gentlemen who tailgate before games that occur at Carter Finley Stadium.
Excellent. So
and
it's a lovely
now
hat.
you may be asking because you can see me. If you're watching
on YouTube,
you'll get this.
Yeah.
Right. On YouTube or wherever you get to, or on the alternate channel, right? On
it's
WRL.
True.
I tell people I tell people I'm on local television too. Just
well, very good.
The hat did come out in a more familiar style than I anticipated when I made them.
But it didn't occur to me at all, Will.
Okay, good. Well, I just want to point out that
not
it's
at all.
not anybody should be able to wear red hats, Adam. It's not fair. I think like there's
Totally understood. Totally understood. All right, so Daniel Tepper or David Tepper?
Oh my God.
Well, can you find the lie? Is there if I refer to David Tepper as Daniel, tell me where I'm off base based on events of this weekend.
I mean, why are we calling him Daniel? Just because he's like a little boy?
Because he has a lack of accountability. He's petulant. He is mean-spirited. Other than that,
I don't think I've ever seen. Yeah, I saw my buddy Grant Paulson, who does radio up in DC on 105.67 The Fan, or 106.7 The Fan, excuse me. And he noted, he's like, it's pretty telling that David Tepper is managing to do stuff that is, one, wildly offensive to his own fan base, to the Jaguars fan base who is there, to the NFL as a whole. The league office, I mean, obviously frown. And I mean, are we still using alleged? Because they haven't even said that.
No, this is
I don't think
alleged.
they even acknowledge. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't got an apology. We haven't got a statement. The Panthers are I think it's very telling that the Panthers are, sort of just hiding behind this. Like, nah, we're just like, everyone's scared. Apparently, anybody who's going to tell David Tepper to do the smart thing about anything these days has been removed from the building.
That's right.
And, Scott Fowler wrote about this for the Charlotte Observer. And I think one of the lines was, everybody who's not a yes man has been tossed from the building.
Yep.
And look, again, you go back to how poorly this franchise is run and the state of the affairs for the Carolina Panthers, who are handing the Chicago Bears the #1 overall draft pick in this year's draft. An unfathomable situation to be in when you trade up from the previous year. If you give away a top 5 pick, it's really bad. If you give away a first overall pick, it's real bad. I think it's not unreasonable so Bud Adams gave the double birds to Titans fans or to Houston fans when they were booing him. But he moved the team out of Houston and moved them to Tennessee and kept Oilers for a while, and then they changed to the Titans. Like, there's some personal beef there, right?
Like
he was in his owner's box.
Art Modell and Cleveland type thing.
Right. I mean, he's like, they're like booing him. He's like, bring it on. He's double birding them. I remember blogging about that back in the day. Shout out senior NFL blogger, Will Brinson. This is different because this is not like he's like F you to the fans who hate him and he hates those fans. This is David Tepper's on the road against Jacksonville, a team with no connection whatsoever to the Panthers. He's got the window to his owner's box that he's using at another stadium open. And he gets so peeved off that his team's losing 26-0 or that they clinched the #1 seed. Like, he probably found that out as like he might have thrown the drink because it's like somebody's like, hey buddy, Arizona's beating Philly. You gave away the 1 pick. Like, who knows? It doesn't matter what was said by those fans. That action is unacceptable.
Yeah.
I think the NFL is going to hammer him with a fine. He can pay it. He doesn't matter. It's pocket change to him. And if the Panthers are lucky they will suspend David Tepper from football operations for a full year, and maybe the team will do good.
See, that is the benefit for the Panthers. And I'll go back to this, and then I called him Daniel Tepper for a reason, because of the lack of accountability. He will not answer for this. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, pretty low level what he did. He should just come out and say, "I apologize for acting like a child." There's no excuse for it. Not that it would be over. He'd still get a fine, but maybe it wouldn't be as bad. But we're now 2 days removed from it. We have not heard a thing. When the Yankees had their owner, George Steinbrenner, suspended, they became a quality franchise. So it happened. Steinbrenner got suspended. He couldn't run the team anymore. The baseball people had to do it. All of a sudden, the organization became basically a model. It really did. And maybe the Panthers will benefit from a suspension of David Tepper, although it didn't help Washington when Daniel Snyder was suspended. All right, let me move on to actual.
By the way, Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, reached out to the NFL and the Panthers on Tuesday morning, and still nothing back from them, nothing new back from them, which no surprise. But like I'll be curious to see. I think it'd be telling to see how both parties handle this, because nothing said by the Panthers is just a real indication of where things stand in terms of what you can do in that building, and whether anybody has any ability to give David Tepper advice contrary to what he wants to hear. And then, if the NFL doesn't do anything, I'd be really shocked. I think they'll hammer him. I think they'll probably hammer him on like Friday afternoon or something.
It should be $1 million fine. I mean, basically, and then whatever they want to give him in terms of a suspension. I don't think it'll cost him a draft.
He has to play left tackle for 3 weeks.
Well, would we notice? Would we honestly notice? All right.
Sorry,
Shouts to Icky. All right. Dallas, Detroit, which an outcome in the game that matters, because if the touchdown is allowed to stand, Detroit is the 2 seed and Dallas is the 3 seed. And that is, I'm going to say, fairly significant in the grand scheme of things. But here's my my overall take on this. Do you remember the scene in Clerks when Randall is running the video store and the woman comes in and she's like playing a trick on him and he says, "I didn't appreciate your ruse, ma'am." And they have that conversation. Like you get to feel intellectually superior to me. I
wasn't expecting a Clerks reference.
There you go.
I love it.
I love to work that in whenever we can. In my opinion, Detroit tried to play a sneaky, underhanded move by kind of tricking Dallas as to who was going to be the ineligible and eligible lineman on that particular play. And I think they get what they deserved here, because just play it straight. Just come in and declare those players who are eligible receivers eligible and move on. But it was pretty clear that they tried to trick Dallas, and they paid the price for it.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where when you get too cute with stuff like that, even if you believe that you can effectively, manipulate the other team into said ruse, you are putting yourself at the hands of the officials, right? Like in the hands of the officials in terms of what they're going to do and whether they're going to get stuff correct. And I mean, I think we've seen enough of the NFL officials this year to know that you don't want them to be deciding your fate when it comes to big plays. Like, just have a play that's ready to go and just run the play,
right? Or
declare the guy declare a guy eligible. I don't think Dallas is loading up to stop an offensive lineman in a massive. Right. I don't think they're, even if you just declare the guy eligible, I don't think they're expecting it in that spot. They're still going to be way more worried about Amon St. Brown and Sam Laporta than they are, Taylor Decker or any other offensive lineman who's declared eligible. So, yeah, I could see that point. It does stink, though, that it's just the NFL just cannot get out of its own way when it comes to how it wants to, just figure out a way to clean up these mistakes from officials, or have
that play reviewable. I mean,
I don't know what you do there, but I mean, it does look like Taylor Decker runs over to the official and is like, hey, I'm eligible.
Right. No, I said this before about two things can be true at the same time. Florida State could have gotten screwed, and we had two great national semifinals last night.
Yeah.
Right? Brad Allen probably screwed the situation up, right? He knew who was eligible and who was not. I think they screwed it up, and that is what it is. But part of the reason they screwed it up was Detroit was trying to play little games there, and frankly, just run the play itself is the ruse, right? You don't have to go beyond that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I just think, it's the other thing is, once you get to the 7, they got the offsides and then win again on the 3. Once you get to the third, kick it from the 7, man. Like that's
just kick it.
Once you're on the 7, you don't kick, even if you draw them offsides, unless the plan was like a hard count to draw them up. But they just kick it. Just kick it.
It's okay. It's okay to take your shot in overtime. I think there was a lot of mistakes made. So how do we look at the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles, who are on the struggle monorail? I just came back from Orlando because the Eagles, especially defensively, are really fighting it right now. How do we look at those two teams? Is Dallas better than Philly?
I would much rather play Dallas right now. Much rather play Philly, than play Dallas. Especially if you're playing Dallas at home. I mean, the thing about Philly is, if you go and look at the Eagles since the bye, and I'm bringing it up slowly as I pause.
I think you can go back all season long with Philly.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, they started 8-1 before the bye, and there definitely were some. Pete Prisco had the best line, I thought. They were wobbly, right?
Always.
They had a bunch of one-score games, but they were fine. They're finding ways to win. You're stacking wins early on in the season, and when you do that, and you start out to that, you get to that great, you get out to that great start. It's very easy to say, okay, this is the team who was in the Super Bowl last year. They have talented quarterback. They have a very talented quarterback. They have a great offensive line, talented skill positions. Maybe the defense coalesces and the passing game kind of comes together. They've stacked their wins. Now they can get hot in the second half of the season. Well, the total opposite has happened. They beat the Chiefs and the Bills coming out of the bye and should have lost both of those games.
Yep.
I mean, they could very easily be 9-7 right now.
Mm-hmm.
And fighting for 9-7, fighting for the playoffs to a degree. They lose to the Niners and just get smashed by the Niners at home.
Yeah.
Now, and so when you're wobbly, you've just been wobbly all season long, then you go get smashed by the Cowboys on the road. You give up the game-winning drive to Drew Lock in a fashion that you just can't do. You beat the Giants on Christmas Day, but you don't do it easily, and that's a bad Giants team, even if Tyrod Taylor's an upgrade over Tommy DeVito. And then you lose like that to Jonathan Gannon, your old DC, unable to stop the Cardinals whatsoever on offense. To me, it is the worst possible space to be in. If you think about teams, for instance, you mentioned the Cowboys, and the Cowboys are playing good football. Of course, they lost 2 games to the Bills and the Dolphins before beating the Lions, and could easily be on a 3-game losing streak.
Yep.
But they've been playing well for the most part in the second half of the season, and you kind of trust them, especially at home. So I think it's a massive, massive swing, because now the Cowboys are the favorites to win the division. They should have beat the Commanders, albeit on the road, but I mean, they've beaten some bad teams on the road. Go beat Washington. You win the division. You're guaranteed at least one home game. And now Philly, instead of having this great home environment, and we thought they were cruising to the 1 seed when they were 10-1, is now looking at, the 5 seed and having to go on the road against you're going to have to play Dallas on the road.
Right.
It's just not a good, or San Francisco or Detroit. It's just not a good path.
Yeah,
to making it back to the Super Bowl.
If they get
through, the defense
isn't
getting any better.
That's the problem. The defense isn't very good. And if they do get through the champion of the NFC South, and I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that they will, New Orleans or Tampa Bay will be at least somewhat of a roadblock for them. Then they have to.
I think I'd pick Tampa Bay to beat the Eagles right now.
Well, chances are that's who it's going to be, unless the Panthers show up on Sunday.
Do you think the Panthers will be capable of dousing the Buccaneers' hopes? Get it? See what I did there, guys?
Yeah. Do I think they're capable of it? Not really.
I don't.
All right. Final thing. The Buffalo Bills might be the second best team in the AFC. Heck, they might be the third best team in the NFL.
Behind the Rams and who else?
Behind the Rams.
Rams are great, man.
The Rams have played well.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams. I wouldn't be shocked if the Rams and the Bills played in the Super Bowl.
Rams and the Bills?
Yeah, I mean, Bills had to win. Obviously, the Rams are in.
Yeah,
I think Matthew Stafford deserves some MVP attention. Not like he's going to win. Lamar's going to get it.
Jackson is the
Stafford's,
MVP.
Yeah, of course, but Stafford should be on some ballots. I mean, he's played great football this year and got the Rams, got a team that everybody thought was going to win 7 games into the playoffs. My hot take for right now is that this is the year where chalk breaks and we get some elite quarterback play like Eli, Flacco, Aaron Rodgers, Big Ben style from a wild card. Tom Brady was a wild card. There's some wild card team that just gets a nuclear hot quarterback, maybe 2, and makes it to the Super Bowl and wins the Super Bowl.
Joe Flacco.
Maybe it's Joe Flacco. Yeah, right. I've been kidding.
No, I totally understand. So Buffalo and Miami. In Miami, is Buffalo going to make the playoffs and be the number 2 seed, or are they going to miss out?
They're going to make the playoffs and be the 2 seed.
They've been amazing.
Miami's banged up. Buffalo's playing great football.
Miami's got no confidence either, I think.
No confidence.
No Bradley Chubb either, by the way.
Chubb out for yeah. And look, I get it. You can't, you lose Jalen Phillips in a blowout too. You can't just bench everybody because the game's a blowout. That's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
Bradley Chubb tearing his ACL when you're down 49-16 is not great.
Nope.
Not great.
All right, man. Nice hat.
Buddy.
Nice
Happy
hat.
New Year.
Make red hats acceptable.
Make red hats wearable again.
Will Brinson.
Shout out to ATW. Shout out to Football Club.
Talk to you later, man.
See you, bud.